And Zuffa Boxing with Dana White and all that has been making headways in boxing for Jai Opetaia as he's set to make his official debut for Zuffa Boxing. The IBF, on the other hand, is not having it, and they officially confirmed that they won't be sanctioning the headliner with Jai Opetaia, who's the current IBF champion at the cruiserweight division.
If I was Jay, I would be pissed. I signed a deal with the Zuffa Boxing, which is great, but now I'm losing a world title.
And the reason as to why the IBF did withdraw was, one, the president came out and said he did feel disrespected, and they said that supposedly they were misled. They thought the Zuffa belt was gonna be more of like an item, like a trophy.
It's still too early to say how valuable the Zuffa world title is gonna be.
If they're not able to, be able to fight for the WBA, WBO, IBF, WBC belts, I mean, they're gonna be like, I don't know if I really want to sign with Zuffa Boxing at this point. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. In today's episode, we'll be going over the fiasco featuring Jai Opetaia, the IBF, as well as Misfits, headlined by Ty Mitchell taking on Gabe Rosado, and our thoughts on Floyd Mayweather's return later this year. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. And now diving into the episode, we had big drama show, in the words of the great Gennady Golovkin, regarding Zuffa Boxing, the IBF, and Jai Opetaia. This is fight week, or fight day essentially, for Jai Opetaia as he's set to make his official debut for Zuffa Boxing. And Zuffa Boxing with Dana White and all that has been making headways in boxing. Overall, low-key, off topic, I'm enjoying Zuffa Boxing. I think they've had some pretty good events so far. So I'm looking forward to Zuffa Boxing 4. But the IBF, on the other hand, is not having it. And they officially confirmed that they won't be sanctioning the headliner with Jai Opetaia, who's the current IBF champion at the cruiserweight division. Not going to be going forward with his, not being champion anymore, essentially, after tonight's fight takes place. Thoughts about this whole entire mess between Opetaia, the IBF, and Zuffa Boxing?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird point right now in boxing. I mean, we obviously have the four organizations, but we also have the ring now, which is highly respected after Turkey, and Zuffa trying to make some headways. Who it's Dana White and Turkey Al Sheikh, both running that. So I don't know. It's still too early to say how valuable the Zuffa world title is going to be. You can't really say. Dana White seems like he's really passionate about getting into the boxing game and delivering a great product for boxing fans. And yeah, I have been enjoying the Zuffa cards. I mean, we had a KO of the year in one of them, in the last one. So they've been really good. So I don't know, if this was the best strategic move for Jai Opetaia, because, he was a world champion. He won't be anymore. And, he could have unified against the winner of Benavidez or Zurdo Ramirez. So we're going to see how valuable the Zuffa world title will turn out to be.
Here's the thing with me in regards to this whole event. It's been very confusing. Is it true that he's going to be stripped? Is the IBF actually going to take the title away from Opetaia? Because it was first they were like, no, it's going to be fine. Well, actually, for the most part, for like the past 2 months, they didn't really say anything.
Yeah.
And then like last second, they're like, no, we're not going to sanction it. Well, actually, we're going to sanction it. No, we're going to take the fees. No, we're not going to take the fees. It's just been a whole fiasco. Oh, they're not following the rules. The president said that he felt disrespected. So I guess just to me, as someone who is, just for us, we follow the sport this closely. It's been very confusing.
Yeah, because even I think in the last press conference, they had the IBF title there. And then I think Dan Rafael was reporting it on X. He was saying that like everything was fine to go on with the IBF and Zuffa, and they were going to sanction the fight. And then for some reason, after that press conference, they came out and they said, yeah, they're like, we're not going to sanction it. So I don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't actually know who's the head of the IBF, unlike the WBC, who's infamous, Mauricio Suleiman. So I don't know how they do it over there. They do it a little different, but it's just, I don't know. That's the thing, man. If I was Jay, I would be pissed. I signed a deal with the Zuffa Boxing, which is great, but now I'm losing a world title. Like, I don't know if it's a very good trade-off.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's the fighter's responsibility to, actually know what he's, signing, on the contract and stuff like that. A couple of weeks ago, I can't remember what boxing event he was at, but, the question was, are you still going to be champion? Is the IBF going to sanction the fight? And he said that, in his words, he was like, I don't really know what's going on. I just want to become an undisputed world champion. It's like, well, that dream is not going to come to fruition now that you signed the slave contract.
Well, suppose they had they're still, look, even though the IBF said that they won't sanction the fight anymore, they pulled out of it. They still did the morning weigh-ins, for the second weigh-in to make sure they weren't 10 pounds over the IBF limit. So they still went ahead and they're still following the IBF rules regarding the whole procedure when it comes to a fight. So even though the IBF won't be sanctioning it, they're still complying with the rules, which makes it even more makes it a bit more confusing. And I saw a lot of people online, because you mentioned the whole clip of him of Jai Opetaia a couple of weeks ago saying they didn't really know what was going on, just want to be undisputed. People were saying, well, bro, like they're like in the same wavelengths as you, saying, yeah, like why are you then what are you doing? Like, why are you going to Zuffa Boxing? Because during the press conference, I think it was they're stating how the IBF and the Zuffa belt were going to be on the line, which they considered a unification bout, even though every other sanctioning body does not consider Zuffa as an official sanctioning body. So, but they're at the press conference, they were stating that it was going to be a unification for both the IBF and the Zuffa belt. And the reason as to why the IBF did withdraw was, one, the president came out and said he did feel disrespected at the way that they were treating the IBF belt. And they said that supposedly they were misled in regards to the how the IBF was being presented. They thought the Zuffa belt was gonna be more of like an item, like a trophy, or
like a secondary thing, like something that's not important as the IBF, buddy. They're fighting on Zuffa. Obviously, they're going to try to promote this new belt. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to push this whole narrative. Obviously, they're going to put your belt as secondary. So obviously, they had the Zuffa belt, right there in front of everybody so they can see it. It was nice and shiny. And for the IBF, it was just there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
Well, supposedly, I'm looking here at this article, and this will be if they do strip him right when he, when the bell rings later today. Supposedly it will be the second time that Opetaia has been stripped from his belt. First time was back in 2023 when he fought Ellis Zorro instead of fighting his mandatory during the time. So this will be the second time that Opetaia will be getting stripped from his belt.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, he's not going to be a world champion anymore. I guess he's going to be a Zuffa world champion. We'll see. But this guy is still, I think he's like the top guy at the cruiserweight, or not at the cruiserweight. Yeah, at the cruiserweight division. Like, who else is there? David Benavidez is going to make a splash there later. So we'll see that. But I mean, the other champion was Zurdo Ramirez. Opetaia beats him too. So the interesting thing about Opetaia is I think he is the best, if not top 2, top 3 fighter in the cruiserweight division. So maybe he's just going over here, get a little bit more exposure. Maybe he thinks that Dana White can sell him better, can manage him better, and because he's gonna win this fight, and I'm assuming he's going to dominate for a while. So maybe he's playing the long game, and he's not too worried about the organization stripping him immediately. He's like, I'm gonna clear out the division, and I'm gonna get these spectacular KOs. More and more fans are going to start coming towards me, and then now the organizations are going to want to sanction my fights. So maybe he's doing something like that, but for sure he's one of the best guys in the cruiserweight division.
To me, that's the way I see it. This guy is probably top 1 or top 2 within that weight class, even though he's signed with this different organization. And I think a lot of people see it that way, but the way I'm seeing it is the fact that it looks like Opetaia's team is setting him up for failure. They're not trying to maybe accomplish his goals, at least within the short term coming. You know what I'm saying? Now he's getting stripped just because he signed this contract with Zuffa Boxing. And then, you have Dana White, in regards to this whole organization, how, they weren't going to recognize any of the 4 sanctioning bodies. They really want to impose their own rankings. They just want to have one champion in every weight class and just promote that new belt. But no one else sees it that way. And then he said that he wasn't going to, do unification matchups with any of these organizations. So, I mean, for Opetaia to just sign the contract and then just not know what's going on, it just really surprised me. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see any of these fights, because Ramirez and Benavidez, that would be a wonderful matchup for Opetaia. And I think it'd be, a big fight that he really needs, because even though he is a champion, he's not really well known. Maybe Dana White can help push him, and to have a bigger fan base here, but he's still going to be limited. He's still going to be like tied like with the ball and chain. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he might get promoted a little bit, but maybe we're not going to be able to see the fights that the fans truly want Opetaia to be in.
Well, his opponent, Brandon Glanton, is ranked number 15 on the IBF ranking. So that's his opponent coming into this fight. I mean, look, Jai Opetaia signed with Zuffa Boxing back in January. A massive signing. Zuffa has been on a roll. I mean, just recently this past week, they announced Mark Magsayo as another signing. And there's heavy rumors about Edwin de los Santos as well coming to Zuffa Boxing. So they're on a roll right now, or they're on a path to sign these big name fighters to try to increase the roster and increase overall the level of fighters they have within their organization, and to increase the credibility of their organization. And signing these big names like Jai Opetaia, Conor Benn, for example. I mean, those are massive big names in boxing. So it's interesting to see Zuffa doing this, but on the return hand, I mean, the fact that they won't, they've already said multiple times that they won't recognize the other sanctioning bodies, and they're trying to do things their own way. It kind of reminds me kind of like a Misfits. The fact that they have their own rankings, they have their own belts, they have their own champions and whatnot, their own roster, and they just kind of go off from there. I mean, they call themselves the world champions there at Misfits, and you're like, come on, guys, like, you really think Fox DG is the lightweight world champion? So like, it gives me that type of energy, but. Or that type of energy, but just a bit more professional, way higher level. But it's still kind of that same. It's comparable to that way, but it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens from this, because, like I said, the IBF won't be sanctioning the fight. We'll see how this really affects the whole format of Zuffa Boxing, and how it affects people or fighters, their willingness to sign with Zuffa, because if they're not able to, be able to fight for the WBA, WBO, IBF, WBC belts, I mean, they're going to be like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really want to sign with Zuffa Boxing at this point. But Zuffa Boxing, for me, is the perfect organization for prospects, more unknown type fighters who want to at least have a platform to compete in and to not sit on the shelf. And I think Zuffa Boxing, even though a lot of people can critique it for the pay, for the lack of creativity when it comes to their boxing trunks and whatnot, to the atmosphere, they can critique all they want, but I think it's a good platform for that type of fighter who's trying to make a name for themselves.
I agree with that, because the way I'm seeing things and the way I'm seeing, especially the pay, I think the money wise is, when Opetaia signed with Zuffa, I think that was one of the reasons why he signed with Zuffa. And I think that's another reason why I think we're seeing a lot of these like up and coming prospects, a lot of these standout amateurs, who had lengthy careers, and then they sign with a major boxing promotion, and then they're kind of like kept on the shelves at least from what I've seen the list, like that's what I saw. A lot of these guys head over to Zuffa Boxing, and apparently Zuffa Boxing is paying them quite handsomely, I guess.
Yeah, man, bro, they got Conor Benn on a 1-fight deal for $15 million. You know, Dana White has this reputation from the UFC that he pays his fighters like shit, and you know the UFC's money structure is completely different. For Zuffa, it seems like he's giving them a decent amount of money, and he's keeping them very active as well, which is, I think, probably even more important than the money, because they're throwing events like every fucking couple months. Yeah. So I think the pay is great, and I think the continuous events are amazing as well.
But yeah, because within these contracts, apparently they're guaranteeing these fighters at least 2-3 fights per year, and I think that's pretty good. In regards to Opetaia, I think, you know, he's kind of in a pickle. He's at the cruiserweight weight class, and I think, you know, famously, it's one of those weight classes that it's kind of like overlooked. You know, you're either gonna go up to heavyweight or you're gonna maybe go to like 175, which is like light heavyweight. It's just one of those weight classes that it's kind of like overlooked, and you know, so that's one thing. Two is the fact that he's a champion. He's super dangerous. Before he signed with Zuffa, I'm pretty sure he was ranked within the top 5 in all 4 sanctioning bodies. But now, I mean, he still doesn't have a name. He hasn't fought nobody. We were all expecting him to fight, you know, at least Ramirez. But with this signing, you know, I don't even know if he's going to ever fight anybody of a caliber name. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's maybe a reason why he went over to Zuffa. And plus, just from what I've seen online, apparently, you know, Opetaia is one of those, you know, throwback fighters. He's going to fight anybody, if anybody. Like, his manager gives him the Ramirez fight, he would take that in a heartbeat. But over there in Australia, I don't think he gets paid that well. And I think that was another reason why I believe he signed with Zuffa Boxing. I think it has to do with the money, and I don't know. I think he made a mistake signing with Zuffa, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But regardless, we are gonna have Jai Opetaia making his official debut at Zuffa Boxing this weekend, so it's something to look out for. Like I mentioned before, I don't mind Zuffa Boxing. I'm enjoying all their events so far. I think they get really competitive matchmaking, especially for their prelims and whatnot. So I've been enjoying Zuffa Boxing, but there are some things to critique. And this entire fight week between Jai Opetaia, the IBF, and Zuffa has been a bit confusing, and it's been a bit irritating. So we'll see how that affects the entirety of Zuffa Boxing and these other sanctioning bodies and their relationship amongst each other for the remainder of the year. So something to look out for, but I'm expecting a good showing from Jai Opetaia this weekend. Moving forward to the next topic at hand, we are finally going to be talking about influencer boxing. It's been like a couple months since we last even mentioned influencer, because Misfits has been kind of dead at the moment. They haven't really been having many events. Nothing's really been in the making, but they finally had their first event of the year, I believe, this past weekend, headlined by Ty Mitchell as he took on the veteran Gabe Rosado. Now, this fight was one that I wasn't really expecting at all. It just came out of nowhere, more so because Gabe Rosado was already retired and he decided to come back and fight on Misfits of all places. So this was a out of the pocket, out of the blue type of fight. But the big other matchup in that fight was the lightweight matchup between Argentinian King and Walid Sharks. But what were you guys' thoughts about this first Misfits event of 2026?
We haven't talked about Misfits since Andrew Tate lost to Chase Dimore. Remember when that happened?
The biggest upset in Misfits boxing.
Oh, that show was so funny. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad to see Gabe Rosado go out like that. You know, maybe the guys that watch influencer boxing don't really know him. They just saw that, you know, he was a ex-professional boxer. Like he was legit. And we know him. However, we used to watch him growing up, and you know, he's fought fucking legends like Gennady Golovkin. where they get that famous clip where the trainer's trying to stop the fight. He's like, "Your son's gonna die, man." He can. So yeah, Rosado, it's sad to see him go out like that. It seemed like he didn't really train. He seemed so out of shape, and you could just tell that the age was getting to him. He seemed so slow, so uncoordinated, and he lost to Ty Mitchell, who's who has like 9 fights. So it was sad to see him go out like that, but Father Time takes us all. So
Yeah, it seems as though Rosado should have just stayed retired because I really don't know why he. I guess maybe it was the money. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's why he took this this fight against Ty Mitchell for the world title. Yeah, I think it's what you said, Asa. I really think it's just age really just caught up to him. He didn't look explosive. He didn't look fast. He just looked like he was just kind of there. Maybe at points he did kind of look a little bit gun shy and stuff like that. Ty Mitchell was the one who looked a lot more comfortable. He was the one who was, dictating the pace, pushing the pace, doing whatever he wanted to do, whether he wanted to engage kind of like in the middle of the ring or if he wanted to move around a little bit, And then he also had points where he was able to land some power punches on Rosado, which if you watch the fight, you saw Rosado, hurt and take that damage. So it was kind of sad to see. I really thought that Rosado was gonna win, like just with the experience that he has and all this, all that experience, that fighting experience that he had. I thought that he just wasn't going to lose. Like, you can't lose, especially like a guy like Ty Mitchell. And I don't want to like speak bad about Ty Mitchell, but like when you compare like the records, like, come on, Rosado. You couldn't lose. But at the end of the day, if you're too gun shy and you don't feel like back in your prime, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Rosado saw this fight as an opportunity. I think he saw fighters like Tony Ferguson and whatnot who are maybe not at that level anymore in their respective field. For example, UFC and whatnot. They can't compete at the top elite status. So he saw how Ferguson and all these other fighters have been having success in Misfits, and Misfits does guarantee you opportunity for success. I mean, you see now, like I said, like for example, I think Tony Ferguson is the best example. He's been on a winning spree. He on the streak right now. He's beaten 2 fighters at the moment, and he's been looking good. And people are very happy with his current run. So I think Gabe Rosado saw Misfits as an opportunity, despite his age. He knows that he can't compete at the world elite stage anymore in traditional boxing. Why not give it his try his luck on Misfits? Even though his age is a factor, he does carry the experience that could translate over well to influencer boxing. However, I do think that Ty Mitchell is a lot better than I think a lot of people were giving him credit for. A lot better skill-wise, mentality-wise than a fighter like Salt Poppy and whatnot, who happen to be scapegoats and sacrificial lambs for these UFC MMA fighters. So Ty Mitchell was a bit of a more polished professional. He's the one who actually ended Idris Virgo's undefeated streak. He's the one who stopped him last year. So he does have some pop. He is quick. He is pretty flashy. And I think he is a bigger step up than I think Gabe Rosado kind of expected it. And yeah, I think the fight was not his night this past weekend.
Look, I guess, but Turner Ferguson is a guy is always just fighting on that one gear. You know what I'm saying? He beats out Poppy like that. Gabe Rosado didn't do anything, bro. He just kept being kind of like mid-range, kind of being on the back foot and just waiting for whatever Ty Mitchell was going to throw at him. Like that does at least Tony Ferguson was actually pushing the pace, and he was like, bro, if I lose against this influencer boxer, then my fight career is definitely over. Look at Darren Till. Darren Till is a guy who, he was signed with the UFC. He didn't quite make it into the UFC, or he didn't have that much fighting experience within the UFC. But now in Misfits, he knows that one fight, his fight career is done. So what has he done? He's been training hard, and just beating everybody that they've put in front of him. Now, it seems as though no one wants to fight him. Rosado should have been on the same thinking, and I don't know. I think this was a wasted opportunity. He's at a weight class where, if he would have beaten Ty Mitchell, there would have been a plenty of other Misfits roster fighters that he could have potentially fought later this year or next year and things like that. So I think this was a wasted opportunity, and with this performance, I think I really do want to see him just fully retire.
No, I think that's exaggerating, bro. It's not a wasted opportunity. You're on Misfits, bro. Amos Taylor's gonna keep bringing you on despite if you lose. You see a lot of these guys who are like 0-3, and he still puts them on. I don't think this is a missed opportunity for Gabe Rosado. If anything, this was just not his night. I think he can literally come back later this year and fight again on on that same platform. And depending on who they put him up against, I think he could still compete at that level. It's just that Ty Mitchell before he was fighting professional too. Maybe he's not as experienced as Rosado, the age did show, but I don't think it was a missed opportunity for Rosado, and the fact that he will be getting more calls from Amos Taylor if he decides to keep on fighting later down the line.
That's crazy. So towards the end of Rosado's career, he was a gatekeeper, and now he's going to be a gatekeeper for influencer boxing. Where's the come up? Where's the level up? You know what I'm saying? At least Tony Ferguson was on the same, level, I guess, towards the end of his career. Maybe you could have called him a gatekeeper. Maybe you could have called him like someone who's just way past his prime, but he's a champion now, or he's like he's a champion, if I'm not mistaken. So at least he's not a gatekeeper. Darren Till, I don't even think he became a world champion in the UFC. No. I don't think he was even ranked within like the top 10.
I think he was like 15. I think he was like 15.
15? At least now he's a world champion. Like, come on, Rosado. Like, dude, come on. Like, you can't just go from like being mediocre to then like go into a different league where you have a lot more credibility and still not show for it.
It's like I was saying, it looked like he didn't train, bro. He looked fat. Like, he looked fat in there. Like, it seems like he just thought it was going to be an easy night or something, or that his body was just going to come back, but it didn't come back. He looked horrible. And, I really don't even know why he really wanted to do this. He still commentates. So, like, I'm sure you're get paid a decent amount of money going commentating. Like, you get a good amount of commentating gigs. So, like, I don't know why you had to go over here and box again. Kind of unnecessary, in my opinion. But, for Ty Mitchell, this is amazing for him. This is a guy that's really credible, legitimate, former boxer. So, I'm interested to see, Misfits. What's the word?
You want to
hype him up? Okay, what I'm saying? Like, build him up. There we go. That's what I was thinking. I'm interested to see how Misfits builds him up. They definitely have. If they work it right, they could have another star on their hands.
Yeah, I think so too. In regards to Ty Mitchell, this is such a great win for him. In the press conference before the fight, he did mention the fact that, like, if he were to win, this would be such a good, credible name within his record. I looked into Ty Mitchell a little bit. He does actually come from a fighting background. His father was a professional fighter. And oddly enough, he actually had a couple of amateur fights. He had about 10 or 11 amateur fights. And it's kind of interesting his personal backstory. He was actually in prison for about 8 to 9 years for a situation that happened. He gets out, and then he basically has this redemption arc, and he slowly, some way, shape, or form, finds himself in Misfits. And through all that, I think it's played a big part within his career. And I think with this victory, I think we're going to start seeing him be more of a household name within the Misfits roster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see where Ty Mitchell goes from here. Biggest win of his career. And he is currently on a win streak since his return to boxing. And Misfits for sure will take advantage of pushing them towards the public. But moving down the list to the co-main event, the other fight that we want to discuss, we had the return of Walid Sharks as he took on Argentinian King in a lightweight clash. Now this fight was in jeopardy early on because of situations down in the Middle East. Walid was unable to make it to the UK, and he stated on a post on X how he was unable to fly over and that he wasn't going to be able to fight. Hence, Fox the G said, I'll be the one to come in and be the late minute replacement. It was set for that until the post fight or during the press conference in fight week when Walid Sharks out of nowhere came out and was all like, I'm here, man, I'm here. Even through war, I'm still making an effort to beat your ass. So
Yo, he must have came in a drone, huh?
Ma'am said he came in a cargo ship or cargo flight or something like that. But regardless, we had the fight. Walid Sharks returned with an emphatic second round KO, taking out the Argentinian King with a right hand, and Argentinian King was unable to continue. Now this fight was they're trying to kind of hype this fight for a rematch, or Wally was trying to hype it for a rematch against Fox the G, which was his last time in the ring where he lost a very easy UD decision over him. So what are you guys' thoughts about Argentinian King and Wally Sharks?
Yeah, this fight was what I was expecting. I was kind of surprised, very surprised that Argentinian King had this big of a mouth in the lead up towards the whole, the whole fight. Walid Sharks is a guy who is very short tempered, and and the fact that Keen was like, yeah, after I beat you Saturday night, I'm gonna take your sister, so you're gonna take 2 L's that night. I was like, dude, you don't want to say that to him, bro. He's like a short circuit, you know what I'm saying? He just wants to, But in regards to the fight, it basically played out the way I expected. Wally Sharks just trying to hunt him down, press the action, go forward and land big power punches, and Argentinian King had no response to it. Didn't have any power. Wally didn't respect him at all and just kept going, pushing it forward until he landed that right hand, and that was all said and done.
Yeah, Argentinian King has never really been like a super top level guy in the Misfits, and I don't see him getting better anytime soon. So for Walid Sharks, this was just a fight to get the gears active again, get the public active, and this is a best case scenario. Getting a KO in the second round. It's amazing. Now he's calling out the guys that he wants to call out. So this is obviously just a stepping stone. Argentinian King was just used as food for Walid Sharks.
Yeah, a nice little comeback fight. In regards to what's next for Walid Sharks, I don't want to see him fight Fox G. I'm not sure who they could match him up with, within Misfits right now, but it's not going to be Fox G. I don't want to see him fight Fox G. In that fight against Fox G, I didn't see anything special from him. It's the typical, thing that we see from Walid Sharks is the fact that he just wants to go forward and land that right hand. I mean, that's what he did in this fight, but it was against a lower level opposition. Didn't see anything new. Didn't see anything interesting. So it was this typical fight that we normally see from Walid Sharks.
Yeah, I mean, Argentinian King is a bad fighter. I mean, he's not good. He's got no. I don't think he's only got one win, and it was a very controversial win in which many people thought he lost during the lightweight tournament. So Argentinian King is low tier type of fighter. Wally Sharks look good against the low tier type of fighter, but let's recall last time he fought Fox the G in his previous fight, he got absolutely beat. I mean, he lost a very clear UD decision. He didn't look good. He looked washed, and I think he is still a washed fighter overall. He was calling out Dean the Great for a trilogy. I'm like, brother, no. I mean, you've lost twice against him. So you're not going to get that trilogy. Dean's not going to give it to you. Like, bro, go do something else. So I don't know where Walid goes from here. He wants that rematch also with Fox the G. Fox G said he would give it to the winner. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That kind of just tells me how dead right now Misfits is. If the fact that Fox the G has to go for Argentinian King or Walid Sharks for a fight. I don't know. It's kind of sad seeing how Misfits, how they are right now, considering the fact that the lightweight division is supposedly their strongest, their most stacked division, and I rarely see any of their fighters. Like, for example, where the hell is where's that one dude? Yuddy Gang. Where's Lil Cray Cray? Where's Joey Knight? Where are all these guys, bro? Like they're not active. They say, oh, we have issues. We have things going on. Okay, cool, but I mean, don't be complaining when you come back to the ring and you fight like shit because you have ring rust. So I don't know what's going on, man. So
Well, I can tell you what's going on. Their boy Dean the Great isn't there. You know, Dean the Great is actually, doing his own thing at the moment. He's, doing various amounts of stream, but maybe that goes to show you that he was actually, the McGregor. He was the Floyd Mayweather. He was the face of Misfits. You know what I'm saying? Every time Dean would get behind the mic, whether it was after the post-fight interview or during a press conference, it was always very, very entertaining with whatever he had to say or whatever comes out of his mouth.
well, we'll see what happens because the lightweight division in Misfits has been very, very bad recently, and there's no one really there who's really active besides Fox to G and now the return of Argentinian King and Walid. So we'll see what happens next, and we'll see who decides to step up and decides to be active later this year. But overall, yeah, those are the two big fights we kind of wanted to talk about for influencer boxing. It was an all right show, nothing too special. We'll see how Mams Taylor and Misfits decide to do, how many events they decide to hold later this year, and see what kind of matchups we'll see down the line. But this moves us forward to the last segment of today's episode, the return of Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather, people call him the GOAT. People call him the best defensive fighter of all time. He's got accolades to his name. He always said he was all about the money, He's money Mayweather, this and that. But he's returning this year, and he's got 3 supposed fights lined up. The big one, of course, being the one in the fall against Manny Pacquiao in the rematch on Netflix at the Sphere. Huge event. I don't expect anything crazy to be for that fight, though. But prior to that, he's got 2 other fights, a Mike Tyson exhibition and an exhibition against Mike Zombides. Now, this is kind of funny to see because with all these fights being confirmed back to back to back, people are speculating, asking themselves, is Floyd Mayweather broke? Thoughts about this?
Yeah, man. I think he might be broke. Because, listen, in his prime, he wasn't fighting 3 times a year. Out of nowhere, he just returns to boxing. And in that same year, he's going to fight 3 times. I don't know. It seems a bit weird. He's also, I believe he's getting sued. Or I know for a fact he's suing somebody. But I think he's also being sued for millions of dollars. So, he's always been a big flasher. He always likes to flex on the brokies, show his private jet, show his, 40 plus car collection, his watches, diamond chains. But it seems like he's just trying to get any fight right now to get some money. Maybe to hire some lawyers, maybe to pay off some debt, maybe some, you never know. But it's kind of sad to see because he was the fighter that made a ton of money in boxing. And if he's actually going broke, then get a fucking accountant or something. Bro.
That's on him, bro.
Yeah, Floyd BrokeBoy Mayweather seems to be in the hole in debt. Not only is he suing Al Heyman and PBC, and I think specifically it's possibly Al Heyman, maybe Steven Espinoza, but he's also being sued by multiple guys that are in the jewelry business as well. I know he also had he had put some stake in a property over there in New York, and then the people who were still owners of that property, they just took his money. So, it's very unfortunate. You did mention the fact that he made a lot of money. There was a reason why he branded himself as Money. Apparently, he made over $1 billion if you add up all of his fight purses throughout his whole career. 50-0, I think it was like $1.1 billion in, just all of his fight paychecks combined. So it does seem to be that he is having financial struggles. He within these past 4 or 5 years, we've seen him take these exhibition fights against guys like Deji, Logan Paul, Gotti 3. I can't remember Yeah, Gotti. I don't know if he came from a fighting family or whatnot, but he takes these exhibition fights for 8, 9, $10 million. And I thought he was just trying to like get a little bit more money. He still wasn't on like that old, I guess. He still had that those reflexes, that speed and whatnot. And I think as someone who appreciated Floyd Mayweather during his prime, during his professional boxing career, and now he did this transition. Now he's retired, and now he's getting a few millions of dollars fighting these influencer guys or social media guys. I was like, go for it. You know what I'm saying? Why not? But this is extreme, man. You're gonna do an exhibition against a heavyweight. The most he ever weighed was 154, and now he's gonna do an exhibition against Mike Tyson in Africa, in the Congo. What does that mean, bro? That means he's broke. There's no way around it. There's no allegedly, bro. He's broke.
Yeah, and Mike Tyson as well. He's like 57. So like, why is he even fighting Mike Tyson? We saw him last against Jake Paul, and he looked horrible, absolutely atrocious. People think that the fight was rigged because how bad he looked, and I'm like, no, bro. When you get that old, that's kind of what happens. And he's abuses a lot of drugs, Mike Tyson as well. So like, that's just what happens when you get old. So he just wasn't there. So that fight's gonna be stupid. Then he's going to Greece, and he's gonna fight. Was it kickboxer or something? That fight's gonna be stupid as well. But those are exhibitions. He's returning back to professional boxing when he's going up against Manny Pacquiao in the rematch. That's gonna be a professional, fully sanctioned fight. It's going to be in the Sphere, or it's reportedly in the Sphere right now, which is going to be a massive event. I believe it's going to be the first boxing event in the Sphere. It's kind of sad that it has to be that fight, because I get it. That was the biggest fight of when we were growing up, Mayweather-Pacquiao. I mean, it still has the record for like highest grossing pay-per-view, highest grossing gate probably. Like, it was legendary. There's no denying it. But if they were going to do a rematch, they should have done it years ago, a decade ago. Like, what are we doing now? Mayweather's 49. Pacquiao is 47, I think. So, like, they're both old as hell. Mayweather's a grandpa. Like, go attend to your, what I'm saying, to your grandson. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not really happy about it. I think it's obviously going to be a big spectacle. But it's just gonna be like two old grandpas in there. I don't have any high hopes.
Yeah, if you thought that the first Mayweather and Pacquiao fight was boring, very uneventful, then how do you expect they're gonna look like 11 years down the line for the rematch? I mean, I don't have big expectations. When the report came out and the confirmation came out that the rematch was set for later this year, I was like, okay, first off, Netflix, pretty cool. At the Sphere, that's also really cool. But I'm under the same agreement that I'm not really happy with who is showcased, who's headlining that event. And there's other big fights that could have been done, but of course, Mayweather, Pacquiao, the big legendary names, the two greatest fighters of this generation, or of the 21st century so far. So I see why it's being made, but at the end of the day, I think it goes to show how the financial struggles that Floyd Mayweather. I mean, Logan Paul came out and still went on about how Floyd still owes him 1.5 mil, how he wants it. Also, Rolly Romero went out and said that Pacquiao was broke too, stating that he kept asking for more money during their negotiations, and that's why it didn't go through, the fight with him and Pacquiao. So he went on and stated that Pacquiao's broke as well, which I find that a little bit harder to believe. But I mean, it's at this moment, everything's just all out there. We're getting this rematch, a rematch that should have happened a long time ago, which didn't. So it kind of shows how well Pacquiao's been pushing for the rematch. Mayweather kept saying no, but
until now,
yeah. I wonder why this rematch is now happening when you already have two exhibitions scheduled. So overall, yeah, Floyd Mayweather's return to boxing, and more so return to professional boxing, was a big news hit, especially when it started brewing that he was suing Showtime first before he announced his return. So the timing of everything, from him suing Showtime for like 300 plus mil to his confirmation was, Zambidi and now the Pacquiao rematch. I mean, it was too close to not try to see a correlation or a pattern or a connection there about Floyd and where his financial situation may be at the moment.
Yeah, that's guaranteed. There's no allegedly. Mayweather is having financial troubles right now. In regard to Pacquiao, though, I think he was a lot more smarter about his money. Not to say that being a family man it correlates to you being a little bit more smarter, handling your own financial situation. But with Rolly Romero stating the fact that he kept pricing himself out against him and Pacquiao. Pacquiao's like 46. Of course, he's gonna try to price himself out. One punch from Rolly Romero, he's probably gonna get slapped. so I think, in regards to Pacquiao wanting to push this rematch for quite a while now, I think it was just the athlete in him, having a little thorn on the side, just kind of itching, trying to get that lick back. You also have to keep in mind that in the first fight, Pacquiao was fighting on an injury as well, so he wasn't even fighting
Allegedly.
Well, he got surgery afterwards.
Yeah, okay.
He got surgery afterwards. You can't say that he wasn't injured when he got.
Didn't he just go swimming and then he got healed?
No, he did get surgery.
Oh,
no, he did get surgery.
I do remember
No,
he
did
was
get
like,
surgery.
oh, I'm better now. I just went to the ocean and swam, and then my shoulder was healed. I don't remember, but
No, if I'm not mistaken, he did get surgery for a rotator cuff injury. So he wasn't even 100% for that fight, and so I think this whole time it's kind of just been itching, and just been in the back of his head. And fortunately, unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for him, now it seems as though he might get his lick back later this year.
yeah, my go ain't broke. Manny Pacquiao ain't broke.
Oh.
Rolly, I like Rolly Romero, but Pitbull Cruz stopped you, so fuck you.
All right, so he did undergo surgery on his right shoulder days after the loss to Mayweather. Supposedly, he had a tear in his rotator cuff, and that he got the injury 3 weeks before the fight. So during his camp, the issue though with it is the fact that the injury was not disclosed to the athletic commission.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of on him for not stating it. I understand why he wouldn't state it as well. Big money fight, especially for the first fight back in 2015. So, but yeah, I guess he did get surgery. But I did remember him stating how he went to I think it was during the rehab then, where he said he was going to like the lake or ocean or whatever, and he was like swimming, and then he got like healed. And people online were saying, "Oh yeah, there's a science behind it." But look, okay, now that we have the rematch, it's gonna be a big showing later down the line on Netflix. It should be interesting, especially I think I'm more intrigued on the whole fight card for that fight, seeing who is going to be headlining or who's going to be a co-main, who's going to be put on the card. There's rumors about Carmel Mountain being put in there. There's rumors about Emmanuel Pacquiao Jr. I mean, there's a lot of speculation on who might be on the card, and it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But one thing's for sure, Mayweather is definitely coming back for a reason. And I'm just saying, man, maybe it has to do with money issues.
In regards to the Las Vegas Fear card, it's obviously going to get a lot of eyes. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be one of those events where a boxing match has never taken place, so it's going to be new. It's going to be raw. I just do hope the fact that they don't put so much time, energy, and money in the main event that they just kind of overlook the undercard. Because there's been moments where, we do get big fights that I think the people want to see, and then the undercard doesn't really deliver, or it's like they put a lot of these unknown guys on the undercard, and then they don't really seem to perform. And, as a viewer, you can kind of tell that the crowd isn't there, or is it literally like not in their seats until the main event, or they don't seem to be that interested in some of these undercard fights. So that is just my one critique. I just hope that whoever is going to do the matchmaking for the undercard does a pretty good job about doing that.
Yeah, we'll see how the undercard gets built and how it pans out, and little by little, as we get closer to fight day or to fight week or whatever, we'll be able to see the full roster come out for the whole card. So I'm eager to see what they have planned out for the first boxing event at the Sphere later down the line.
Look, I know we've been critical about this, matchup or whatever, but given the opportunity, I still want to go. Can you imagine going to the Sphere and watching a boxing fight? The UFC had a match at the UFC, and that was very interesting. It was very, very much different. So, I mean, as much as I'm hating the matchup or whatever, I still would want to go and experience it live or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we'll see how much the tickets are. They're probably going to be like Super Bowl pricing there, but
10 likes on this video and we're going.
no, we're not. No, we are not. I'd rather see it free on Netflix, but we'll see down the line how that goes. But yes, Mayweather's return to boxing has sparked a lot of speculation and a lot of debate online whether or not he is broke or not. But we'll see down the line how that all pans out with regards to his exhibitions before the Pacquiao rematch. So Floyd Mayweather is officially back in 2026. But I think we covered everything that we wanted in today's episode. Let us know down below your thoughts about Jai Opetaia, the IBF Zuffa Boxing, as well as Floyd Mayweather's return to boxing. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. We are on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Lastly, we're trying to build up a community on Discord, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. This was Pablo, and I was Rudo Nasa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.